Hi everybody, and welcome to Wendy's Witness. Have you ever strained to see because wherever you were sitting or standing, something blocked your view? Did you find yourself searching for a different angle or another spot? You needed a better vantage point. In our life, sometimes we can only see what's right in front of us and not anything that's a distance away. But we know who has the best vantage point, and we can always let him talk us through. Be careful though, because there's another who wants to talk you into going the wrong way and tempt you into making bad choices. We'll keep watching and take advantage of the offer to see things the way they really are and take your position with the highest view. Satan is at work still today. His methods have not changed, and we have many examples of others succumbing to temptations he provides. Let's be smart and learn from these examples how to recognize the enemy. Though it's easier said than done, in the moment we find ourselves forgetting who's behind the curtain. We can be duped into only seeing what's in front of our face. That's why Paul tells us in Ephesians 6:12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." There are evil spirits at work against us, but our God is for us and He's with us. And don't forget, greater is He that's in us than he that's in the world. He gives us protection by delivering us from evil. We can ask Him every day for wisdom and discernment, along with putting on the whole armor of God. 1 Chronicles 21:1 says, "Satan rose up against Israel and incited David to take a census of Israel." We know the devil hates Israel because they're God's chosen people. Guess what? So are we. So the devil hates us too. Have you ever known someone who stirs the pot? They're always creating drama. Seemingly effortlessly, they have the ability to plant that little seed. Usually jumping to the wrong conclusions, but somehow it breaks through the ground of our mind and starts to take root. We water it when we ponder over and over. It grows as we get madder or more offended. It starts to strangle out the good thoughts. Those good thoughts are like one beautiful flower trying to stand up in a flower bed overgrown with grass and weeds. How do we get those weeds out of there? We pluck them out one by one down on our hands and knees. And that's how we remove our wrong imaginations too, on our hands and knees in prayer, asking for forgiveness and help to remove and replace those bad thoughts with good. Put up a guard with a helmet of salvation so that next time that thought or seed doesn't even get planted. Now, can you think back from the vantage point of hindsight and realize that you too, like David, were incited? I sure can. But what's encouraging is that we now have the vantage point of experience, and we can more easily recognize the tactic of the enemy. And we know from the vantage point of Job chapters 1 and 2, Satan must have permission from God to bring affliction. But because of God's faith in Job, he allowed it. Remember that nothing comes to you that God doesn't allow. If He allowed it, we can thank Him for it, because either it will grow us spiritually or it will help others by revealing God's glory through us. And we always have hope no matter what situation we face because of Romans 8:28. And we know that in all things God works for good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. God has a purpose for each and every one of us, and He's called us to that purpose and works with us and in us to fulfill it. We are very familiar with Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. But how many of us consider this was God's promise to His people who were held captive in Babylon for 70 years to bring them back to their hometown of Jerusalem? The Lord instructed them to settle down while in the strange land, build houses, get married, have children. Basically, live your life. He wants us to pray and seek Him during this exile. When we do, He promises to gather us together and bring us back to our homeland. Did you know God summons us by name? He chooses us. He anoints us. And He takes us by the hand to lead us into the special task He's prepared in advance for us. God does the heavy lifting. We just allow and submit ourselves to be used however He sees fit. His ways are not our ways. And God has the vantage point of seeing the end and knowing all. We trust Him, not questioning why, but asking how. How? How do I learn and grow from this? How do I keep my eyes on You? How do I reveal Your glory by providing encouragement and comfort to those who may be going through the same thing? How do I honor You, God, in all things with my response? What has God called you to do? Are you being faithful to that calling? What is your response? What are you waiting on? If the answer to that is anything other than God, you need to move now, because soon our exile will be over and we'll be going back to our homeland. Well, God bless you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. And remember, we are all witnesses.